Okay, so I'm a day chart. My Saturn is in 11th. My Saturn's in Aquarius and dignified. So that means my Saturn return was swimming and perfect, and then I didn't feel no pain. Everything was fine, right? Well, not exactly. So while I was dealing with, prominent figures that are powerful in my community, also, it hurt to move. I could not run. I could, it was a struggle to walk. So, yeah, let's talk about Saturn returns. So, before I get into my story and everything, just let's give a refresher on like what a Saturn return is. Just look at your chart, look at what sign is where Saturn is, and when transiting Saturn, which is right now in Pisces, goes to that sign again, it is your Saturn return. So that will be around 27 to 30 years for those that, looking for it the first time. And also going through the second time, it's 57 to 60 for the age range for, the Saturn return that's just happened. And if you know your rising, then you know where your which house Saturn is. So with that, you'll know like the themes related to your Saturn return. And then you can just look and see like what's aspecting the Saturn conditions and all that other good stuff and everything else like that. I'm going to talk about one like technique, perfection years and everything. Talk about mine, which is one of many just to basically get more tea, get more information on how your Saturn return specifically was going to play out for you. So without any more preamble, let's get into it. My fifth house perfection year happened, 28. So like I'm Leo fifth house. My sun is in the 10th and everything else like that. So prominence in the public, everything else like that. Along with my Saturn, which is again Aquarius and everything else that Saturn signs, yay, dignity. But with the power and dignity that came through with that fifth house year. It was also during the pandemic, which was annoying because I wanted to party during that fifth house year. But no, because we had to deal with, social distancing and everything else like that. It's like I had to go over like other ways to, have the pleasure and enjoy like things. Like I enjoyed like creative pursuits and whatnot, and like, I did my best to, enjoy like my fifth house. And it wasn't as if that year was completely terrible because again I was enjoying eating lunch every month with like one of the most powerful people in the community, and I was radiant. I was basically like the sun. I was shining no matter how I felt. Matter of fact, those around me were just basically like could see me in a sense for just like they were invisible so that no one could see just how dysfunctional some of them were when it came to like basically doing their jobs when it comes related to the organization that was with at the time. And I was holding this executive position, and previously it's like, oh, was running the meetings and everything else like that. Then became like vice president and everything. And then like during the fifth year, of course, it would be, oh, I just hit president. And yeah, it was fun because again, I got to basically shine like the sun, no matter how I felt. It did not matter if I covered anything else like that. I will also say that I have Chiron in fifth in Leo, and it's a part of Grand Cross with like my Moon in Taurus and like Pluto Scorpio with my Aquarius Saturn. It's also conjunct Sirius for those that care or anything. But yeah, all that was going on. Fixed sign, Grand Cross, so those fixed houses were everything else like that. And yeah, it absolutely explains why they were just lit up because I really shouldn't have been doing like the treasurer job too, handling, the money and everything else like that, like expenses and everything else like that. But again, it's just like, oh, hey, boom, like those are assigned positions were just simply not performing the way they needed to or not at or like at all. So then, of course, I'm just over here just gonna just step up to it. Like here, I'm not gonna let my administration go down to being like dysfunctional or anything else like that. Oh, absolutely not. So of course I was being about that business, living that life, and again I was passionate about it because I truly believed, we were doing everything. So I was doing that while still finishing school and working as well. So all that coalesced together when it was a time because again of doing all that, and again like my health got bad to the point for where, oh, could not run because my legs hurt so bad. So here's a medical astrology thing. Saturn is responsible for, the bones, skeleton structure, skeleton essential teeth, skin, those things. And then the signs it rules, Capricorn and Aquarius, are basically the leg. So basically, from knee on down to the ankle, they just basically between those signs is to rule everything. Aquarius is more so, down the leg to like the ankle and circulatory system too and everything. So that was a thing going on. I had to figure that out. It hurt to move, but at the same time, it didn't matter if I was in pain. I was still out here performing and doing more than my share and everything, just because, oh, hey, boom. Like, I was determined to make sure that my administration was a successful administration, and I wasn't gonna let anyone like get in the way of achieving that goal and everything. And I succeeded, but at the same time, it was like I couldn't even be sick or miss a meeting without, things going nowhere and everything else like that. Which I would say the most annoying downside of that too. But again, with like being an authority figure and like dealing with like people and everything, again, this is like part of, oh hey, working with groups. Sometimes someone that even doesn't matter what position they are, if they fail to do their job, if they're confident, if something happens, then compensation is gonna have to happen. And sometimes you won't be able to simply just, oh hey, boom, replace somebody just lickety split like that. And again, it's like a whole process of, oh hey, boom, just working with what you have. And my chart ruler is fallen. So in a sense, working with like almost nothing is basically just like day one for me almost of it. So yeah, it absolutely showed. So for the fifth house and everything, I would say I did enjoy it because I get to manage to do a lot and basically that again, like I said, I was on my king shit during that time and era and everything. It was this whole thing of, oh, hey, boom, reality, 10th house sun, like 11th house Aquarius and everything. It's just like, yes, that is the man, that is the king, that is the president, here we go. Yes, sir. And I'm just like, yeah, absolutely. So going into that, we just move over into the 6th house perfection year. And I was thinking that would have been the year that, some like medical stuff would happen. Hilariously enough, that's when like that like got like resolved more so for completely during the 6th house perfection year, which was Virgo, ruled by Mercury over here, like my Mercury, and whole sign 10th, Placidus ninth, and again, Mercury was just out here giving, it's just eating. My Mercury ate for this year, it was great. It, but yeah. Don't worry, this still is a Saturn return video and everything. I'm still dealing with a community, and in this case, I'm dealing with like online communities and people going like together for common interests, everything else like that, online friends, this, that, and the third. So basically, all that gumption, all that fire, all that passion is basically went over to that group and everything. And it didn't even matter that like still like dealing with the pandemic transition from like, oh hey, can we go outside? Can we not go outside? Like, if you don't wear a mask, will you get long COVID and die and then die again? Or other, discourse like that. Because the whole world got traumatized by that. Like, full stop. Anyway, with the 6th house perfection year, basically was dealing with all types of people, and it didn't matter like what background they came from, what their skill level was, and anything. It didn't matter. It was a whole thing of exchange of ideas, like robust and everything. Given like, oh hey, here you go. Oh, you want to talk? Here, you can have this experience and talk about this. Do that over here. Oh well, actually, here, if you're gonna speak on this topic and everything, go right ahead and let you know. Like, it was a great time for like getting an audience and everything. The sad part is that Mars and Gemini retrograde was a thing during that period. So basically, like social groups, especially just points at air signs, and how they relate to the social houses and groups and everything. They were atrocious. It was like basically a world war for where the map was getting redrawn constantly and new factions were being appeared, and it was just like endless drama and like nonsense on the background. Well, I can't even say background because it was just like so all over the place. It was just like, oh, there was just so much chaos. It was just like, oh, hey, who is what is where is why, huh? Oh, but even amongst all that, I still managed to accomplish quite a bit and everything. It's just like, oh, I just learned that year that, oh yeah, my Mercury is a super strong and everything. But it also comes into what I want to talk about, like you fully come into your stuff during your Saturn return too, like fully comfortable, like who you are as a person. I want to say, I know Samuel Reynolds mentioned probably a couple times that you really grow into your ascendant sign during your Saturn return, everything else like that, because then you just like make peace with who you are as a person, like what you are, that sort of sense. And with the Saturn return, that's basically like the key thing you want to do. Like, what did you do? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be from here on out? You are no longer, a child or a young adult, quote, quote. You are an adult with a capital A. So you are going to be here standing with authority of your life experiences and what you do. And you clearly did something because, again, you reap the benefits of what you did in the past. And you also deal with what you didn't do when they come to visit you. And I will say that with that sixth house reflection year during part of like my Saturn return, it was interesting because what I did do was like, relationships going a bit questionable. Also, comma, it was a whole thing of, oh hey, how like the potential, like seeing how a community can really move and go when you can just get like the right team together. So this is like, that's a theme continuation of it and everything. And of like my fifth house, which makes sense. Because again, Saturn 11th, community, like networks, people, like internet friends, all that other stuff. And I know while some might say, oh, hey, 11th house wouldn't be like correlations and groups and everything else like that. I'm just over here just like, it really was loud for that for days for me. So again, years actually, 3. So again, I'm just gonna go with 11th house, groups and organizations and all that. Like, so with that, I'll just end at a point with the middle part of my Saturn return, the sixth house year. I did deal with a little bit of health, but it wasn't as like extreme and dramatic as like fifth. And the seventh, hmm, I guess in retrospect and everything, the sixth was mid in that sense, which is hilarious because it's the house of, illness and all that other stuff. So you would expect, oh, hey, boom. But again, it's like, no, 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 no. There's more whole thing of just like, oh, just dealing with mercurial thing. It was fun. So my seventh house perfection year. So as I said, I'm Aries rising. So my seventh house is Libra. My Venus is in Pisces in the 12th, and yeah. It was fun. Sure. Yeah. All right. I'll be honest. I was expecting like either a business partner shirt to really pop off, or maybe like something sort of like on a romance thing. Because the solar return night chart for that, I had like Venus and Pluto in the seventh conjunction. I was just over here just like, what the hell is this? Because it's not like, oh hey, boom. I already dealt with like, a breakup and everything. I didn't have like any like current partnerships around for it. Just like, oh, things to get implode. Like, pretty much it was like a really like drifting period in a sense when it comes to like my like relationships with people for most part. Where it's like, the OGs and the true friends, like the ones they were there. Some were a bit more distant than others, but like a lot of them, the ones that came in during like the Saturn return and everything, like a lot of those was basically like fizzled out or that's basically in contact or everything else like that. So I'm thinking, okay, if it's gonna be one-on-one relationships and everything, it's not like I have that many to begin with. So what is that gonna do? With how is Pluto going to destroy that house? Essentially, was how I was looking at it. And again, it was like either, oh, some powerful figure or something that comes in that can be a partner, and I was just like, hoping for that, but that didn't happen, and I'm just like, eh. I guess there's always another Venus Pluto thing, but eh. What ended up happening was, aside from, finding the hidden enemies and basically coming to light and everything, because, 12th is hidden enemies, 7th is open enemies. So that connection over there is like, oh, my ops got dealt with, like, got revealed and everything else like that. And yeah, like, that was a thing. So I guess, that was part of the subhouse. But the main thing I would say was really just, like, pronounced for me for that year would have been the fact that, my one-on-one relationships with people just pretty much got rejuvenated and, like, had more force to them, like integrity, in a sense. So my Jupiter is in Libra and it's trying my Saturn, so there's also like playing a thing. And again, like air signs can deal with the cordial, can deal with like the friendship and everything. It's like oh, we can be as friendly associates and everything else like that. But with Pluto, you want like the intimacy anyway. So then it ended up being a whole thing of like rejuvenating a few like relationships I thought had to basically run their course in the sense of oh, like we were good friends and then we just basically grew apart and it's basically just on our separate ways and it's just like oh, it wasn't a whole there was a fight or breakup or anything else like that or like falling out. It's just simply that we just grew distant or like grew apart as people. But instead it was like oh no, that wasn't the case. So basically like a lot of like basically just got rekindled in the sense like we were reunited like groups that had been disbanded, like basically just got brought back together through me and everything. And I found that interesting because I didn't expect to be pulling straight out necromancy for that year. And again, it's just like it's just connected more to like the theme of friendship and Saturn and everything else like that. Because again, it's like when you look at relationships, Saturn is actually your friend in a sense, because that's basically, someone's there, they're going to be there for a long haul, long term. And my friend Jupiter. So again, it's like when I come with like relationship, especially one on one, if I come into your life, I want it to improve. I want it to go up, not down. So what ended up happening was essentially me just, I guess, reforming how I went about those relationships, and it's basically out of like, hey, like who would be worth those sort of like devotion and like sort of connectedness and everything else like that from me and everything else like that, like dealing with loyalty and everything else like that, and a whole thing of oh hey, boom, just because we work together or just because we believe in a common cause doesn't mean that we would be good for each other. In other words, it's very very tricky to really like articulate concisely. So yeah, the third part of this Saturn return story and dealing with like the 11s and dealing with like people and everything, but just be the whole thing of oh, your relationship with be it an acquaintance or a friendship, whatever sort of connection, basically have integrity with it and purpose with them and everything else like that. Which sounds a bit strange because how do you have purpose with like, a friendship if you're just basically there to, just to vibe and chill and everything. But hear me out. Let me cook. So with this, Saturn is a planet that really loves it when you have integrity. Intellectual integrity, moral integrity, spiritual integrity, what have you. It's like integrity in general. For it's just like a simply put, whether they praise you or boo you, you still do what you do. You're still about that business. That's simply who you are as a person. That's who you came to be in the world, and that's who you came to die as in the world. when you can be with that sort of conviction, with that sort of like firmness, in a sense, then Saturn would be pleased with that because again, it's just like you're not doing it for anything else. That's truly what you are. That's truly on your purpose and everything else like that. So in this case, with my seventh house reflection year and everything else like that, dealing with that too. It's just a whole thing of like, my partnerships, like my friendships, my just how I come about and like come into people's life and move in like a personal matter and everything else like that. Because again, it's just like, when you're aware of how much power you have in a situation and could like bring and take away from something, then you should be accountable for how you move about it. You are accountable for how you move about it. Because again, your actions always have consequences like that. So in this case, managed to actually do something that's like pretty poignant, like pretty much as oddly as it sounds, it truly brought me joy, happiness, I guess, which is hilarious considering that it's a Saturn return, and my Saturn is signified, but also comma is like 11th house, and then as I said, who rules my 12th and everything. So those that really deserve like that sort of like ride or die sort of like full on transparent devotion and everything else like that. Like those were pretty much revealed and everything, and just like yes, like these would be worth actually investing into helping to reach their dreams. Like they seem to looking at them like to invest in like me to blow their mind and everything else like that. Jojo versus others who are just like they'll talk a good game or do anything else like that. Maybe they can do one thing, but don't have any expectations for them to like grow or anything else like that, or be of like there for a long term, which is very very sobering in a sense, because then you just come to realize, oh hey, you know and you vet out and have like excellent expectations and everything with others like yourself. It's not simply just building a wall, and it's not simply just having a filtering. Because again, like human relationships are always going to be dynamic. They can always basically grow stronger or grow weaker. They're like essentially like a living thing, just like we are, flesh and blood in a sense, breathing, nourishing, and starving. That whole process. They can even live and die. So with that, just coming in with more intention, and then like I wouldn't even say more authority in the relationship, because again, sounds like there's like a power balance there, like a power dynamic, and wouldn't be like the case. But again, it's just more so it's like you would be operating from a powerful position regardless if you know like what you want, who you are, what you'll do, and everything else like that, and be upfront about it, and just basically like not care like the end result would be, because those are for you will be there, those that aren't for you will just go away. And again, it's like if this sounds a little bit like a bit intense and everything, I'll just basically say the same thing I tell the people that have Pluto and angular placement, or or like too much like fixed sign energy. If they want less, they can seek lesser elsewhere. So yeah, that's basically my Saturn return story. I'm so glad that they took the time to listen, and just to summarize like some key points and everything. And again, integrity would be like the main thing just for Saturn in general as like a planet and everything. And like you would look at your signs, aspects, like other like techniques and everything, or you can get an astrologer like me. Just look at it, your chart and everything, and see like, oh, what sort of like periods and that stuff like that, that color, what happened like for the year, month to month, what have you, whatever sort of technique they're doing. But yeah, it's very very impactful, I will say. So it actually is worth the hype when people talk about, oh hey, boom, oh my Saturn return was so scary, or like, oh, I'm so scared of my Saturn return, or boom, like my Saturn return was like great or whatnot. or very, very impactful. I will say again, you will come into your own as a person doing during your Saturn return and everything. And afterwards, you should have like a purpose and direction of where you want to move forward or where you want to grow forward in a sense. Because again, Saturn is actually a teacher, like great teacher, actually. Like it's not just Jupiter. Saturn actually teaches you things too. And yeah, those things can stay with you for a lifetime. So thank you again. I'm out.